Welcome, everybody. Warm welcome from myself, Björn Oltmans, Head of Maps at Mercedes-Benz. It's glad to see the room full here this morning, and also shout out to the folks who are joining online to follow this event. I'm really excited to be here to talk about NDS.Live today, what Mercedes-Benz has done the last couple of years, actually, since the starting point of NDS.Live. We were part of the effort to build out the new standard for NDS.Live, moving the standard into the future. And my presentation was really hyped already by Markus and Martin, so I hope I will meet the expectations today and not bore you with what we have done at Mercedes-Benz. So when we talk about NDS.Live, I personally and my colleagues, Dennis is in the room, who's representing us in the working group 5 on the NDS.Live standardization. We're always asked, or often asked, like, can you actually use NDS.Live for navigation purposes? I think from the incision point, it was maybe a focus on ADAS subsystems or focus on online services, but the entire navigation system, is that possible? I'm trying to give you an answer on that today and show you what we have done so far and answer that question at the end, or you find the answer yourself when you follow my presentation. So I'm starting a bit with the past and then moving to the present and giving you an outlook on the future of Mercedes-Benz navigation with NDS.Live standard at the very end. So status quo, I think, should be known to everyone here in the room. I think all the members and system vendors, solution providers, OEMs are invested in NDS Classic in some form or way. And Classic is basically the database that sits on device, sits in the vehicle, and provides data to the head unit to then enable all of these navigation use cases as we know them. Render a map, allow you to search for destinations, do all the route planning, give directions to the customer. But also nowadays, a lot of ADAS systems depend on this data, depend on the quality of the data and the reliability of the systems. And all of that is possible and well established with NDS Classic today. But the truth is that the ecosystem is a bit larger. So for Mercedes-Benz, the onboard part is augmented with dozens of online services, actually, that deliver additional data to the car in real time, be it map updates, be it online search capabilities, online route calculation that takes into consideration the current traffic to give you better estimates, better route alternatives. Nowadays, we have a bit of a downtime, let's say, in the industry regarding electric cars. Our push isn't giving us as many sales as we wish right now, but I'm hopeful that this will change. But especially for electric vehicles, charging services are getting essential to make the experience for the customer seamless. At Mercedes-Benz, we realize all of this with something that we call map feature services, and I will give you a few more words on that in a second. So the initial focus of NDS.Live, as we understood it, and when I joined the team at Mercedes-Benz Navigation in 2022, was focused on NDS.Live services to replace some of the core online services, but at the same time, core services for navigation, but at the same time seeing that a lot of the efforts were focused also on the ADAS layers or ADAS capabilities of NDS.Live. In addition to that, many OEMs, let's say, struggle with that black box in the middle. So in order to get a NDS.Live map that works in the car, you need to make quite a big effort, or you need to find somebody that does it for you, to compile an NDS map that is that runs on the car, runs in the client, and there are many different formats, and you have to consider OEM-specific requirements and so on. But what my personal experience and what I heard from others, it was mostly treated as a black box by OEMs, including Mercedes-Benz. There was no need to look into it as long as the system works at the end. Also given to the fact that many system vendors just did it for you. They deliver the head unit, they deliver the navigation software, they just built their own map based on NDS Classic, and you basically buy the full package from them. With the advent now of NDS.Live, actually we saw not only the need, but also an opportunity as Mercedes-Benz to look into the details, take this process into our own hands, understand the full standard to its full extent, and figure out how to best use it for the most innovative navigation systems out there. Our commitment as Mercedes-Benz is and will always be towards innovation and the best products that make our customers happy. So what we've been doing for the more than last 2 years, 3 years now, almost, understanding, designing, and building NDS.Live, and that includes what I will show you in a sec. Building our own map compilation platform, a lot of in-house development, but also partners working on that, which are also here in the room. So we are a big community of partners, suppliers, and like-minded folks that push the standard forward. Map streaming capabilities and onboard persistence for NDS.Live, caching mechanisms, and of course, feeding into the navigation functions to enable the customer experience. Going NDS.Live, what were our main decision factors? I can really clearly say that the first one, the enablement of a standardized way to do tile-based streaming in a reliable and scalable way, was the main decision factors, because we constantly get the customer feedback that they find outdated information in the map, in the car, and we want to be as accurate as possible and provide fresh maps as soon as possible to the customers, but also want to make it usage-driven. So nowadays, most solutions are regional-based updates out there if you have not switched to a complete online navigation yet. And there's a lot of waste actually in the system because you're sending data to the cars that are not really necessary for the current route. Besides that, looking at NDS.Live, we saw the opportunity to reuse parts of our NDS Classic-based stack, so we wouldn't need to re-implement everything. We could use some of the capabilities we have already and reuse them for NDS.Live and integrate the new parts, refactor what is required. And it gives us also an opportunity to have one format that works across the car and cloud services as well. And I'm not only saying cloud services in terms of you have an online routing or an online traffic services, for example, but you can also work much more easy, simpler with NDS.Live tile-based data in the cloud for other use cases. And of course, the joint development, the collaboration in this group, like having 4, 6, 10, 100 eyes on the topic is from our perspective more fruitful than just the eyes of Mercedes-Benz. So what have we done? We looked into the specification of NDS.Live to figure out what modules we would need for navigation use cases, but also for ADAS support, because this falls also into our responsibility as the navigation team of Mercedes-Benz, how to get the right data to the ADAS system. And this is just an extract of the modules we use, but those are, I would say, the most important ones. So we basically use everything that is required for navigation use cases in terms of these modules. And then what is required with NDS.Live as well is you need to design your own smart layers in order to bundle them according to your needs, according to your own capabilities and update strategy. So we built a couple of smart layers, also examples here, most important ones, a road and ADAS smart layer, a display smart layer for rendering a map. We have, of course, PUIs. We also have a traffic smart layer, and we have some custom implementations that we are doing with custom modules and custom layers for Mercedes-Benz, where there is really no overlap, I have to be honest, with what NDS.Live is doing and has been doing. It's really custom development. None of these things were necessary because we saw large gaps that were not closed by NDS over the course of the years. Nevertheless, as an early adopter of NDS.Live, there were some challenges for sure that I want to go briefly over. So when we look at the state of modules, there was not really a module where we said, oh, this is not developed at all, or this cannot be used that it is by Mercedes-Benz to implement an NDS.Live based navigation system. So none of them are really red. We had a really good baseline in early 22. There were some modules, given some examples, rendering stuff, instructions, giving instructions, being able to calculate offline routes on device required a bit of work. And I'm happy to say that we were able, with our investment in the working groups, and also thanks to the technical lead, Fabian, big shout out to you, Fabian, to close practically all of the gaps when it comes to module and schemas, and have everything now at hand after 2 years of development to build that NDS.Live based navigation. I have to say though, there were and there are still architectural gaps, which some might say they are by design, because NDS doesn't tell you how to implement specifically. It tells you which standards you follow, which interfaces you have to provide or use, but it doesn't stipulate how data persistence should, example, work, how caching should work, how you update the data, whether you go into, oh, I'm using only persistent data in an offline case, or I use only cached, or I mix that. It's not defined. There are some hints how you could do it though, but you have to come up with your own solution. Another topic is on-device search capabilities when you're offline. You know, my colleagues always talk about going to the Black Forest, and as you might be familiar with in Germany, our mobile networks, they are sometimes a challenge. And also other systems that depend on navigation inputs and data, like a speech dialogue system. Let's say there's ideas that are exchanged in the working group, but there's nothing where you say, oh, I take this as an out-of-the-box solution. Here you need to be really open to come up with your own solution and make an investment there. Now you might be saying, hey, I'm not seeing the online modules there. And that is for online services like routing and search there on what you showed, Bjorn. And that is valid. We looked into NDS.Live with a, as I said, driving decision point around map streaming and map updates. And we have a really well-working, well-established, scalable stack for pure online services for additional information like online search and online routing, weather information, and so on, which we call map streaming services. It's actually something we are really proud of. It's a WebSocket-based cloud technology that scales really well to millions of cars out there in our fleet. And in 2022, we made the decision that we won't move the online services to NDS.Live. We will use NDS.Live as the new data format standard, how tiles are designed, how the layers are designed, and how the map data streaming works, but we won't use it for online services. It would also require us to basically build and maintain a completely separate stack for that, because we didn't see the opportunity to migrate existing cars like through over-the-air updates or something in that regard to the NDS.Live standard. So I made a point a couple of minutes ago that we wanted to open the Pandora's box when it comes to map compilation, and we did. So what we did is in the cloud, we built with our partners, some are NNG, which plays a big role there, but also with a lot of in-house development, a platform that is able to compile NDS.Live tile data at a worldwide scale. And we are also able to integrate multiple map providers into that platform. Representatives of these map providers are also here, so we can have a coffee chat about that, how that works in greater detail if you would like. But we use everything that we get, semantic map data, vector map data, places data, and many more. These are just examples loaded into our pipeline. We use an internal format, an intermediate format. It's called Monarch. It was designed by Dennis, which is here in the room, of our lead architects when it comes to data standards and handling them with tools. So we load the data, we convert all the features, we create our layers, aggregate the zoom levels, cut our tiles, and we do extensive quality checks to make sure that we are doing the right thing. At the end, we package it and we provide it at a cloud scale to then, in the future, millions of cars, like we did before with the classic database and NDS.Live, NDS Classic-based regional map updates. On the vehicle side, we also implemented an NDS.Live client, which is a hybrid client that supports multiple usage scenarios. We will support a hybrid navigation that is working from the get-go ex-factory on a market scale like Europe, with a lot of offline capabilities, pre-installed data, but then usage-based updates to that based on NDS.Live tile streaming, route-based updates, or horizon-based updates, or just ad hoc requests. So if you are in Europe, in past system generations, if I wanted to, I hear somebody talk about New York on the radio, I zoom into the map, I go to New York and it's empty. We don't want that anymore. So wherever you are on the world, you will always find information worldwide, just like you're used to from smartphone application or other solutions out there. So the onboard component we call map share, and this is not a copyrighted term, and we don't use it externally to our customers. I heard that TomTom has actually copyrighted it, so no pun intended. It basically combines smart layer and smart object capabilities, download clients, and persistence. And we use a mix of technologies there, open source technologies to build it with NDS.Live data in mind. So we have chosen RocksDB as our persistency framework for tile storage. And then for the onboard search part, we built on what was already there with NDS Classic, like SQLite-based full text search. But we extended it, augmented it to be able to update the search index on the fly when new tiles are downloaded. And for speech data, we have our proprietary solution that I won't go into now in great detail. But overall, we have refactored our navigation software, reused some of the NDS Classic stack to now access tiles, not through SQLite interfaces to NDS Classic data, but through an onboard gRPC, a tile-based interface that basically fetches all the tiles on demand, and it also triggers update processes around the car or along the route to make sure that at all times the customer gets the freshest data possible. And then we really support all the use cases like I've shown before around navigation, but ADAS as well, with the new way of handling the data on device. Handling the data on device goes beyond the head unit as a device, but also towards the greater vehicle network and the dependent systems. Like more and more systems, especially in premium cars, depend on inputs to either improve their function or even function at all. Besides ADAS, which is really famous, it's also the drivetrain nowadays. Think about electric cars optimizing the battery consumption along the route, or even systems that are not so obvious, like intelligent light controller, to make sure that depending on the upcoming situation of the road or the area you are in, you want to configure your headlights in a different way. So all of that is possible. So we made the connection between NDS.Live data and the classic ADASYS V2 API that many of you are familiar with, but we are also building an onboard delivery mechanism to send relevant information to the ADAS system as well. So this is work in progress right now to really enhance and augment our capabilities now that NDS.Live is happening. All right, I said in the beginning, we had 4 main decision factors. And I want to then put those decision factors as sort of expectations versus the reality that we face, and then talk a bit about our positive experience and maybe some of the challenges we see or that remain. So for the decision factors, tile-based streaming, it just works. Great, fully fulfilled in terms of reusability. As I said already, we could use a lot of things from the NDS Classic stack. Nevertheless, especially the self-contained tiles and the, let's say, idea of lack of references between layers and zooms and so on was a bit of a challenge. We figured it out by now. So it also works great. Joint development was awesome. I think collaboration in the working groups was always really constructive. And the shared format for cloud services and onboard software, 100% fulfilled for online services. For the customer-facing cloud service like online routing, online search, I mentioned that we stick with the existing platform that Mercedes has built over the last couple of years. So overall, really good decision factors were the right ones. Positive experience, fast feedback. Again, shout out to Fabian. Whenever we had a question within an hour, it was answered, or we had a quick call to figure it out. But also in the working group. And like I said, the gaps that we saw in 2022, I think most, if not all of them, are closed by now. We have invested ourselves a lot of time, provided our ideas to the working group to close those. When it comes to tools and documentation, we see that there was a really big update from NDS Classic to the current tools for NDS.Live. Really helpful stuff. And we could also see that with partners and suppliers working on that, they could build on their knowledge that they had with Classic, and they were able to acquire what is needed for NDS.Live over the course of the last 2 years as well. Nevertheless, I have to say, in terms of challenges, there is quite a steep learning curve, though. So if you don't come from navigation, or especially NDS Classic, you have to invest a lot of time to understand it, which is also due to the fact that some of the structures of the schema, the way referencing works within layers with ID spaces, but also general nesting of structures, it's sometimes not that simple. And we have also a serializer format, which is not much used outside of NDS, which is set 0. And this combination makes it a bit harder for the beginners to get into it, but it's possible. Around certification, there's still a discussion going on what the exact requirements will be. We see opportunity to be less strict when it comes to internal use of NDS.Live. As an OEM, as Mercedes-Benz, we don't plan to have public NDS.Live interfaces. We built a platform for ourselves to consume it for ourselves, which might create a bit of a different set of requirements than having a map provider or a solution supplier provide the API to many, many different customers. And then also in terms of compatibility, we have to be honest with ourselves. This is to some extent still a standard in development. So a lot of things were changing over the year, and you need to be able to handle that in some form or way, especially if you build a serious product that goes into production at some time. We are now putting the nail in to make sure that we have stable map data for future software versions on device for future car generations and so on. But it's not a walk in the park. You need to be able to invest here, and you need clever people working on that, or clever, experienced partners to support you with that to find good solutions. Overall, I can say Mercedes-Benz is really happy with NDS.Live and what we have achieved personally here in the last 2 years. And a big shout out from myself, and I'm looking now into the camera, to my team in Sindelfingen and the other colleagues from the map department. It's really awesome what you did, how far we made it. And I have to answer this question with a clear yes. So you can use NDS.Live for navigation, and you might see a product soon-ish that you can test and see what NDS.Live is capable of. Thank you very much.
Is that working? Yeah. So you see, I didn't promise too much, right? Actually, we have a few questions here in the chat. There's a simple one just to warm up. Can we have the presentations after the talk?
I think you can answer that question.
Yeah, I just wanted to have it in front of the audience.
Yes,
the PDF versions you obtain, at least of this presentation. So not all of the speaking people today already confirmed that they will share the presentations afterward, but this one will be shared in any case. Most of them will be shared. So 2 more questions for you. online questions first. Traffic is shown being handled via
Yeah.
NDS.Live and not via MDS. What is the reason for not providing it via MDS?
Okay, I mean, there is different ways of handling traffic out there. Feedback traffic is familiar with many people. Mercedes-Benz has, for traffic, for many years, built their own stack to distribute traffic to the cars. And for traffic specifically, we see that with NDS.Live, there was now really an opportunity to switch the traffic schema over to NDS.Live, which we didn't see before.
Okay, thank you. Then another one. I have to move a little bit closer to my laptop so you won't see me on the screen. Would you think that the NDS.Live service can be provided easily by even different map providers? This burden Mercedes from operating the NDS.Live service? Or did Mercedes add a lot of proprietary functionality in NDS.Live?
No, like I said, we have a few custom layers that we need where the standard wasn't designing anything that were specific to our own use cases, especially when it comes to higher autonomy, like level 2 plus driving or level 3 and the like. But besides that, we didn't see any gaps that we needed to fill with proprietary solutions. I mean, we were open to it in the beginning, saying if something happens and we cannot come to an agreement, we can find a solution, we would do it, but it was actually not needed at all.
Good to hear. Okay, any questions? Thank you very much so far. Any questions here in the room? There is one. Wait, I'm giving you this. Yeah, okay, thanks. I have a microphone boy here. Maybe you say your name and association first. Oh, it's off. It's off, I think.
Yeah.
Does it work now?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Julian Gonzia from Here Technologies. I have a question. I think it was on slide 10-ish somewhere. And that was regarding the map input.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, exactly. Okay.
Oh, wait, where am I? It's too fast. This one?
Yeah, exactly. I wasn't sure. You said in the beginning you probably are not disclosing it, but which map data you are going to use for that. So you're saying semantic map data, vector map data, but where the data is coming from? You disclose something from NNG, but
NNG is supporting us with the development of that platform, actually. But you're from here, you said.
Yes.
Here data is going in that way, yeah.
Okay.
Among other data.
Just seeing you looking to Philip.
Okay. One more question.
Andre Schade from Comsignia. Just the trick questions. How do you see V2X data going into this? I mean, V2X, I mean, Europe is rolling out now a green light optimal speed advisory and map and SPAT. So you get the signalized intersection data live, even the ones that are being updated by the second. How do you see that pipeline with the pipeline that you were shown on your screen?
Interesting question. I think we haven't made our mind up about that yet. But what I can tell you, it's mostly going to be similar to what I said. For the real-time data, we have our own platform that we invested in and that is using this kind of V2X and Car2X data right now. So diplomatic answer not made up, but we have an existing technology that we use right now.
Okay. One more.
Drakovic carried. If you use multiple map sources, do you have experience with resolving this inconsistency between these different map sources?
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, this was one of the lessons learned when building a compiler, that while you always know what you want as an output, it's not always clear how to achieve it. And with some data sources, you need to invent algorithms on top to either close some gaps or summarize information to create one common result. Nevertheless, we still see that there is some investment on the client side to be able to work with different raw data providers, even though both are converted to the same standard. But this was actually the same for NDS Classic as well.
Thanks.
So one last question. When people here in the room, they can still talk to Björn in the coffee break.
Sure.
Or are you
always.
leaving right now?
No, you're very welcome to ask me anything.
Hi, I'm Juniper. I'm from TomTom. And my question is somewhat related to using multiple map sources and map suppliers, especially around the compilation frequency or the update frequency you can support, given that it takes time and effort to actually resolve all these different sources and being compiled. So what is the current frequency you're operating at, and what are your ambitions?
My personal ambition was get it done in 24 hours. So load new data, next day you have a release. Right now we are at bi-weekly. There is still opportunity to improve. Obviously, my team is really working hard on it. Actually, one of the bottlenecks is if you do that, and maybe we hear something about NDS.Live at a continental scale very soonish, actually accessing the raw data in a fast way is one of the bottlenecks. So if you have just huge data sets across the world from different providers, it will, even in the cloud, it takes time to just load all the data. So
I think we may have an answer for you.
Sure.
That was the transition to the next presentation. Thank you, Björn.
Yeah, you're very welcome.